you can listen to me. I will ask that you share it. I will have a short message. I will have a short message that I would like to share. If I believe you are listening to me, please share it. Thank you. Thank you very much for those who are watching. I will be speaking in both Nuer and in English. My message is very, very brief. My name is Galwak Tathaj or Dr. Taj. I'm actually speaking on behalf of myself, not representing any institution, but also talking about what is going on in South Sudan. For those of you who know me, been following me, I stopped speaking so much online for a while, but I always write. Always like to share my opinions, my ideas, and my perspective regarding the current crisis in South Sudan. I'm by training a strategist. We also do a lot of works on the strategic organization and strategic planning. I'm also an advocate, an activist on behalf of displacing people, on behalf of refugees, and on behalf of people of South Sudan. So the view that I will share are mine. They're not tied to any of the institution that I might be working at, so that you can understand. I will also conclude or summarize some of this in English, and that I'm saying in English. I will summarize them and say them in Nuer. First of all, I want to pass my condolences to families of South Sudanese who are now, who have already known that they have lost some of the family members due to the ongoing missions of genocidals or mission of killing people in South Sudan. I condemn the operations of targeting civilians. I also condemn this type of political independences. But I also want to say a few things. First, people of South Sudan should not be going to war if we have the government. If the government in Juba was a real government that meet the need of the people of South Sudan, we should not be going back to war. We should by now have the kind of countries that meet the need, the basic need of the nation. As the current leadership meets the need and address the challenges, then we should not be at where we are today. But because of that, we're back to the square one. I think the people of South Sudan cannot blame themselves for voting to have an independent South Sudan. But they can blame themselves for choosing a leader who should have not been the leader. First, I want to condemn the statement General Ulony stated last time regarding the missions of going to the Nuer land and asking people to not leave anything that is in life, including the children, the elderly people, the women, and even the chickens. That statement itself, even though it has been denounced by the regime, saying that this Ulony was not representing the opinion of the government, or it's not a policy of the government. Ulony is an high-ranking military leader, a deputy or assistant chief of his staff. Anything that he says, even if it is not part of the policy, it will have to be implemented by the soldiers. And they did. You might have seen home being burned down with some civilian in it. You might also have not seen some of the stuff, but there's already been a lot of atrocities that have already been committed as a result of that. So Ulony's brothers, South Sudan belongs to all of us. And any leader that leads now will have a legacy. Either your legacy has been the legacy of South Sudan, that means a legacy of destroying the life of human being, or a legacy of serving the humanity. A legacy of vision, of strategic leadership vision. You will be remembered. But the question now is, how are we going to remember you? You mentioned a lot. I cannot talk about all of that you say. One of what you say is people in Upper Nile have been I would say, I don't know whether you could actually even mention this, because you were one of those who revolt against the regime. If taking harm against the regime for your right was wrong, why would you do it? Why did you do it? I think it doesn't really make sense. So my message to you is, at the end of the day, the consequences of your message will come to you, will come and haunt you. It will come back to you. And you did not do anything to actually reverse what you say. That means you mean it intentionally. It is the wrong thing, and it is not going to be good for you, and even for your soldiers. But Nuer and Murle, or Nuer and Chuluk, I don't mean Murle. Nuer and Chuluks are not just the country brothers and sisters. They have intermarried. They are one community. they will continue to live together. They will continue to live in South Sudan. Only you and those that are like you will receive the consequences of your action. You still have time to reverse. This is my message to you. And of course, the regime in Juba have sent senior presidential advisor, Uncle Coleman Youngjut. I remember talking to Coleman Young a few years back when he was talking about the visions he had for South Sudan. When he was a governor, he came to America and he spoke to a number of youth, encouraging us, including myself, to go back and invest in South Sudan. Go back and bring the talent, the skill to South Sudan, to build the South Sudan that he, at that time, wanted it. He did not want people to live tribe by tribe. He wanted us to be united, to bring South Sudan to what it needs to be. But what is Coleman Young today? Coleman Young went to Duke, went to Bor, rally the civilian to take arm, to protect the government, and fights against the IO and opposition forces. My question to Coleman Young is this: why now? Why are they going to fight on behalf of the government, when in fact the Boer and the people in Jonglei people in Jonglei have not benefited from what is going on in Juba? What are they protecting in Juba? What is Juba really? Juba is not a government that can actually be protected. And I cannot understand why would you want Boer to go and fight the neighbor. Yes, there has been incidents. That was an incident in 1991. Everyone has a story for that one. But 1991 is more than 30 years ago. We are in a different era. We have now an independent South Sudan. Why bringing up 1991 every single day? What are you trying to remind people to do? Are you wanting South Sudan to just live in a tribal hatred? You know, you are an older person. Your time, if you and some others are going to live a little longer, it might not be long before you went and join the rest of the people that have gone before you. What are you leaving behind, Uncle Cole? What are you going to leave behind? A destroyer South Sudan? Because you have an hand to what is going on in South Sudan. The war in South Sudan is not only Salva Kiir. You made Salva Kiir to do what he is actually doing. You are an agitator of so many things. We know what you are doing. You're part of the Young Council of Elders. It was when you became a minister, the defense minister, that when things changed in South Sudan, the war began, because you are also an architect of the war. But if you fought in 2013, and let's say the 2013 was a revenge of 1991, what is needed now? Why do we have to fight now tribally? You know, they can Nuer, and as well as others, tribe in South Sudan, will live in South Sudan for long. They will not leave South Sudan. South Sudan will not be left to Denka by Nuer, nor Nuer will be left to South Sudan by Denka. All South Sudanese tribes that are living in South Sudan will continue to live in South Sudan. Their children, their grandchildren will live there. It will be the legacy of Coleman Youngjut that will have a question when you're no longer there. And my brothers and sisters from Bor, I mentioned on one of my notes the other day, you don't need to fight. You don't need to take harm to join the government regime. You don't. There's no reason for you to do that. And I appreciate those of you who are actually speaking against this. Nuer are not fighting Dinka. And for Brother Nuer, who thought this war is between Nuer and Dinka, is wrong. They're wrong. This war is for marginalized people. This war is for the refugees who are sitting at the refugees camp for more than 10 years. This war is for children who are not having education, who are not going to school, who are living there and now just do not know what tomorrow is going to be. This is for people who were supposed to create their own businesses, create their own ways, not looking for government position, but at least need peace and protection. These are the people who do not know why they are in this condition now. And who is benefiting? You're not. You're not benefiting from South Sudan. What are the businesses are you creating in South Sudan? There's no public servant. Public servants are not receiving any resources, any salary. There's no protection. Even the civilian cannot be protected. Their livelihood, their resources are being taken and actually they are made enemy to their own neighbor and no protection. You are not free in Juba. You cannot say anything. You will go to jail or you will be killed. There's no opportunities for young people. Why do we have South Sudan? What do we mean when we say we need a nation? What was the nation really? Let me tell you the key. Let me tell you just few things that a country is needed for. A country is needed to protect people. The defense must protect the population, the citizen. They must protect the territory, the border for external forces. Now, you look at South Sudan, our territory from Sudan to Uganda to Kenya, our borders are already, taken by a number of these countries. We are not protected as civilians too. Everybody is having harm. That's why you see no one really knows who's really the soldier, who's the army person in the country. So if internal violence and the threat from outside are not controlled, then there's no country. If the country cannot protect its own people, there's no country. What else is needed in a country? You need to maintain law and order. You need to create a system where laws have to be enforced. If you have an issues with law, it has to be addressed in the court of law. Justice system has to be there, not what you see in Juba now. A law where your rights, you are innocent until you became guilty. That thing is not there in South Sudan. There's no real governance that administrates the public institution, as we can call it, a nation with institutions, a nation that has a law, that has policies. Even taxes that are collected are being misused. The revenues that come from oils is not known, is not benefiting anybody in South Sudan. Who's being benefited by the oil revenue? It's only few people. Well, now often their own account outside of the country. Resources are being misused. There's no coordinated and even collective leadership. Public servants are not delivering any services, nor they deliver services that are not enough, not adequate. In South Sudan, there's no education. Our children are going to school in East Africa, in Europe, in some other places. Those people will not have our culture. They will have other culture in East Africa. They will not even, what language are they going to learn? What culture are they going to learn? You see a mother staying with kid there, their dad is here in South Sudan. There's no even a father coming to see his kid. Our kid knows what it is to actually have the country. When they come to South Sudan, they come like a foreigner. You don't have children, you don't have money, you keep your kid in South Sudan to just join the army, to be collected and be conscripted as soldiers and go and fight their brothers. I mean, imagine this. And if you're poor, you end up doing nothing or be forced to fight. But if you stole enough money, then you send your kid to the other part of the world and invest there in those countries. There's no investment. Even if the stolen money are used in South Sudan, it would make sense. Because if they invest in South Sudan, maybe the poor people can work in their own businesses in South Sudan. And then you can have a good institution. You can have a good healthcare system. You can have infrastructure. You can have water supply and not depending on water being paid from the river. You can have road. You can have emergency system. You can have all of that if you have the leadership in the country. But this is not there in South Sudan. People are not representing internally. Now, number of the embassies in South Sudan, number of South Sudanese embassies all over the world are closed now. There's no any democratic diplomacy's mission that is actually functioning now. Foreign relations are now falling apart. Some countries are actually laughing about the South Sudan. So there's no representation that's good. Even some trading that are being signed are not signed in our favor. You can see now most of everything in South Sudan is being sold out on favor of very few people. Resources that are not used for benefit of the civilian. It's not benefit of the interest of the national South Sudan. It's the interest of the very few people. So why would you be convinced to not leverage yourself on this condition? What makes you fear? Thinking that if a regime is changed, you will be punished. Somebody will revenge anything that you have done. No, there's no revenge really. There is a need for liberation in South Sudan. What we have now is not the country that we voted for. It's not the country that our father, ourselves, fought for years to liberate. That's not what we have in South Sudan. And this is why you should reject anybody that make this a tribal. If you can do favor, you call your children not to be taken to war. If you do not want to join the oppositions, don't go to war. Find yourself somewhere to go. And for brothers in opposition, you are here for people of South Sudan. You are not for a particular tribe. You are not for Nuer. You are not for Denka. You are not for Acholi. You are not for any other tribe. You are for people of South Sudan. You cannot do what the regime is doing and expect to be seen different. If the regime are going to burn people's homes, like we have seen in Patai, in some other areas in Low Nuer area, like it has been in Nasser and Wulang, and then also in other parts of the country, you do not need to do the same thing. Because if somebody gets themselves to dirt, you don't really want to be in dirt just to be like the same person. There is a need for an alternative approach in South Sudan. An approach that we wanted, a nation of all people, nation of all South Sudanese, a nation that focused on unity, development, strategic vision, and infrastructure, and new world that has a new world approach on the aspects. That's the nation you want in South Sudan. You don't want to develop nations with tribes that focus on a particular tribe. You cannot develop a country like that. You have to have everybody in a country. You have to treat everybody equally. You have to have justice for all. You have to make those who need to be accountable in the rule of law, not in the divine rule of law. That's what you want. I would say if you are being convinced to join the war, to fight against the change, just because you are from a particular tribe, don't do it, because it's wrong. Don't do it. Especially my brother from Dinka community. Uncle Kwalmanyang, it was wrong to say what he says. What happened in 1991, nobody endured it. A lot of things happened in 1991. A lot of things happened. We have killed ourselves. And it was not only 1991, it happened even in 1985. 1991, and etc. Even what happened in 2013. Those who are accountable will be made accountable. But that will not prevent us to have a nation. That should not be anything anybody will always want to come up and remind us that we cannot give ourselves. As it was said by Arab brothers who thought that people of South Sudan will not have a nation because they will end up fighting among themselves. Yes, it happened, but we can correct that. The oppositions are for the people of South Sudan. From IOs to all the other oppositions, their goal is to bring the independent South Sudan that we want. That's not what we have done in South Sudan. Salva Kiir has failed the country, and he has to leave South Sudan and retire. We need to do that, all of us together. All opposition should unite and tell Salva to leave. And Salva should leave. We are all working together. South Sudan has 4 million people displaced internally. 4 million people. We have 9 million people depending on government assistance. I mean, international government assistance, not South Sudan government assistance, because there's nothing South Sudan can give. We have 2.5 million people in the refugees camp. In Kenya, in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in Uganda, in Democratic Republic of Congo. Leave alone the rest who have actually went to, I would say, Egypt or even some other part of the world. We have the largest refugees per capita in Africa. That is insane. We have the largest displacement people in the whole African nation. We are the poorest country in the world right now, as we speak. The inflation in South Sudan is 450%. That means if you have any small resources that you have, you cannot sustain anything with it. We depend on oils by 90%. That did not even come to meet any need. Everything that we have is imported from outside of the world, especially from East Africa. But if you look strategically, resources that we have in South Sudan, the natural resources that God has created South Sudan for, there's no nation compared to South Sudan in the whole world. From the oil to mineral to everything that you may name it, including the wild animals, the fertile land that we have, the fish, etc. Why are we mismanaging them? It is because of the leadership. Everything in life has a lot to do with leadership. Even in the Bible it says, without leadership, people perish. John Maxwell, one of the leadership experts, has written that everything rise and fall in leadership. Even though leadership is an action, is a verb, and it's actually an action of so many people. A leader who leads leaders play a significant role in the success of any institution. We don't have that in South Sudan right now. We don't have that. We don't have system that can build that. You can see so many people now look for hand-on thing. Everybody wanted to get something. Everybody wanted to sell something. They even want to sell themselves, sell their children, sell their community, for them to behind something. Why would we have to live like that? Why? This is a nation that even if you don't want a government position, you can build your own. And you can be anything in South Sudan, really, if there is a peace in South Sudan. But can you imagine waiting for Salva Kiir to bring peace in South Sudan? From 2005, when Salva Kiir became a leader in South Sudan, there have never been a peace in South Sudan. Look back to that time. Not just 2013, even from all the way back to 2005. Before George Arthur, before Olon himself, before Yao Yao. Look it back. Because the guy is not a leader. He doesn't know how to bring people together. He doesn't know how to bring this diverse nation together. He's being challenged for how diverse South Sudanese are. So he can't do anything for it. It has nothing to do with education, really. For those of you who thought that having not enough education might have been the case, even though it can contribute it, I think it's just lack of wisdom the guy has. And surrounding himself with hatred, with those who had the shorter vision, who wanted to see themselves as the only reflection of the country when they are not. So I wanted to end this message as such. I want all of us to unite to bring about the real change in South Sudan. This is not about tribe. This is not about tribe. My brother and sister, this is not about tribe. South Sudan is beauty because we have 64 plus tribes. And we'll continue to bring more other people. If we have peace in South Sudan, we could bring anybody that want to live in South Sudan. Why not? And if you go to Canada, how many tribes are in Canada? If you go to Australia, if you go to America, even if you go to Ethiopia, any country you go, you can never find just only a particular group of that nation lived in that nation. Other people are there, and they really produce so much. They bring about the beauty of the nation. We just need to embrace ourselves in the diversity that we have so we can bring about lasting change that is needed in South Sudan. So I want to conclude in Nuer. For those of you who do not understand Nuer, bear with me. It's just going to be the same message, but I would just want to make a brief because I don't want to say a lot. On this point, I am calling on all of us to unite and all of us to reject the call for tribal division, tribal killing, and also reject the message of genocide from General Ulun and a message of tribal division by Kwame Nyangjut, and also not to copy the acts of evil that is being carried on in Juba. This is the message. I wanted us to see South Sudan that we want, the South Sudan that embrace all of us, that can bring hope to all of us, that can bring peace to all of us, that can bring unity to all of us, that can bring development to all of us, that can bring the kind of a change that we need, the hub that everybody want to be part of, because we have the resources, we have the skill, we have the talent, we have everything that the nation really need. That is the country that we want. It is a country that can not only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 tribes. It's a country that needs all of us plus. Everybody has a mean to be in that country, has a reason to be in that country, and we should all embrace our unity as the people of South Sudan. It is the leadership in South Sudan, and that leadership, regardless of of how hate they have for the people of South Sudan. If they are changed, if they are retired, they will appreciate the change that they failed to implement. That is the message. So, mende nyo madye and te choda lara when chola galata thai, ke Dr. Thad. And lara no, write it in Chitwalk and Chalat. Ke kui would have chola woloi. No lara je be wo ben ban de be jakas junu jakara inwara. Be lara tele gat ke check ke hanga naman pala ke de ke nakandial lara ne je rwa mo chetok e rwa mi je ke be de jagajen min bi akula ngai kon ke tat ke kon judar yana ran kwen en ran ke kon te ga mar ke ken judar yin tro rwa de chetok shanen bo ti cha ko tung dong la de tan den erian to den dan ti ko wutin cha wo chot ka dong te ni ka ni di cha ja jen ke men kwala la kon iku cha la ke cha la che gor no ye ni kon te ten lat ke kor ten te rai do chara gor bi mission mo bia lat ko ran me le mi je ki me le mi je la de ki be do ko mu wi wo do ki be te da ke je haram mo no so la you me lat ke chara je do no mo ko chi mo go but ko le je no so me le je ne Bagwar University needs there. Ko she come down get tired, she come down get young. She come down Canada. A come University needs there. Wouldn't pen con chop, wouldn't pen con Urbana take a malway, wouldn't pen con Urbana go, wouldn't pen con Urbana take a development. A gentle con the come with Jamo. Can any con requires ja, but let me a lot of my bellat. And then yen in the corner to ye kuntu. She tin long kamal ka yene ko ngane tin lat ka lade lade la ni di changi yin forces tin jalkel chara ram di chara guer chara gat chara ye guer chara doran chara ye yer chara kwagran chara ka yer ko rom ko kon wolat bu yen wolat che bi no the thing different ka ne salfa then change nan de yin no cha ba gu ju ni dong da ra change me de go so ra mo a je ra go da la ye cha right book ku wuri mi na ni chali ko no nyang wo na jogi e we am wo no ra wo be ne ba ye let ka mi che me cha lat ke 1991 nyo me jo ko no nyang ni mi chen cha chu ku bor and wo mi chu to 1991 cho ba nyo e na ko bor ke ne no re te kon ka kel ji do bor to gwa bi wo tu ni no Sudan ke jang to gwa bi wo tu ni no Sudan e do nan kon dia sele mi che no wandi mi cha lado ni gwandi ni ko no nyang kaj na che mishi la talk hela chara je proof cha proof ko image la de cha gwade wa ngai yen bia wo bor ke bia wo ga jube but la de la need to go ni change me ba bun me dan and I was in Ethiopia ke tag road bun ke 1991 boy je bador me chang kwen mi ta ja ken la kana la kana ti ji ta ke yo mo je kwen me ramatel yo ko ke be te je de kon ma to de jak enana ko sharp ke ne kun la ne kon wi ne jak ne kun to mi sha bi sha go abi ku la ne kun di bi go bar ge ke me bar na ro din kana so nyo de na nu ko ye ne ne dial talami bi agwe ke wi mu je ke sha should be long ko wi should no sha bi bi atada ka kene to on time ka ne ta ka power ka ne ta power ta da din mo wa yo ne ta le da ke bu mon de den be ju gud mo ne university ko ken ken ko jo okay kana mi jeng mu ngi kana mi jeng mi singa bu ku le ten je di e ti de bara te mi ye ke ga ne ko ne jo pa le kana ne re ja no ko na de ke ko ken ne ko no won jarwa na no bu to mo yo la ni mi le ken la le ken so la le ken e chwana je le so no mo je ne ndam do dan don de go de la die ndo de ne ken yo la te wo in countries in Sudan and other country when me tell me know the now we wait a wait me tell me know the go when me na one can see go talk about con population dan queer close to 15 million 14 million can 14 million me 9 million Adian me take a assistant to quality jagra kwana jagra kana ko ken Minati 4 million chaga juduri ken. Kineti ngadi 4 million chaga juduri ken. Chaneti 2.5 million. 2.5 million radian. He work a refugees camp ni kwanda ko ken. Yene roll bull, ne take Kenya, ne take Uganda, ne take Sudan, ne take kwanda ko ken. Then si mukule te wich. Weje mo ngode ko kulo lo to tina, ngode tina. Wejbo ne ko ne take let, ten take let. Ten rang let, ke let kokomo che kokomo. Tell a God could do the wich. God ka East Africa, ka win ko ken. And our God ke foreign wich, chang waran ka open wich, che wich mo go ji wede. Tigi yoti quality jakamo chiko invest all the day. You do look around, you know la. You know, I won't really know the way around with them all. So South Sudan and Gold Corner, Kijin South Sudan now in China. South Sudan and Gold Corner now. And South Sudan you go to Medan. South Sudan you go to Medan. And South Sudan may be come long do. But you gang. Tell Rama Binian Kuya. Bear board or a con back a gang. But you job lad Muguri let it be a lad. Tell Rama Biji Pin woman the ladingo. By Chara Bekalat. But do wall Bekalat, but do Gora Bekalat. Go to conquer resources, they think to lot. But let the create can money. I just also done a good con. I you miss you go to Sibley Shantin, go Ilogia. Bow don't kill no which and water them. Come with me here with the Modella. Go on South Sudan, take a resources to sell to we monitor the den. We roll boon and Charlotte Kelly Madan, would you allow be? Quite long to roll boon in comparison, come and take a South Sudan. South Sudan take a lead, take a dove, take a mineral look of kin, take a lay, take a grudge, take a moon muguaka pit, take a tidia. And one day you could pay order that I walk 1 hour ago. I tell Quara and talk, sell Quara. I will tell a leader and take a vision. Ka leader and take a vision like JKD, like you go mission Ahmad Gwakel, Jamuga Chala, but leader mission about you might. Mission our pause a bomb, become Ramuguade. Kasha big at right, go Baramo by no again. Ba Quanakan, Yakunya La Quagana. They like it in Sudan. A chancha like Africa and the dinner like in Sudan. Any yen messenger in ladder no Tanakel, Quanadan Unite, Quanadan Matkel, long in their content go look, come like a humanitarian need, and Latke. Shoot a bound to Melody. Come with a bound to Melody, Katam, tell a guardian with all your Lenegade. Lenemadi ladder, Kalwandu, Matejimo. Metal the Mangadi do ladder go now, by you know the Womudi Ladakadi ladder. Kakon Lanaje, Name, a change in non conversation in Dan Corodan, Cheche Nuer, a change in Sudan. Namisha Corn Nuera Kaja. Can I make corn Nuera Katab? Name a change, go college and maybe no corner of which we call a jar, by winning any deal. A gent Charamo. They go to your name on a right social media and go to young the Maladish and the Malatia Ryan Machine talk. Go Yenmo Yeno Rajana, Chabate dark, a call me young. Chabate dark, a Maquil with can I would a little care. Go Janine Latkin. And more Rajan Rajan one Rami Latijago. Go Gorga Balara can eat it, and you let him know Coach Abugai. And can go along and be young you. Never mother Jaganini cocaine, message who call Laneke. Laneke, long and a conkel, China missing your con, Chan Ryan Latkon a Chanica. Ryan who change a bibben, a chain in India, Cabana in no con. In honor. Kono and by you near, mother J, Nany corn and don't come long shop, Charagake. I knew Ryan a lot of Colman young, a Ryan Jake, a chicken of a war. Correct a lot of Woody Jolly, Wolon. I write me dear, get your corner of war. London nego, Charlie did, when you were University Sudan, to a corner wall of the University Sudan. A Kawun Walla both deal. A bucket young Machari, Boganya too, bucket young Machar, a bucket corner wall. Come your gold corner, you corner gold to Nuarcora. What do you get all the gentlemen? Yeah. So, any loyal test here, get them out. Thank you so much.